Well, happy holiday afternoon. I'm Jeffrey Darty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. Good to have you with us here today. Still got beach hair, still don't even care. But I want to talk to you today about the first extremist, Saul of Tarsus. The first extremist, Saul of Tarsus. That's what we're here to talk about today. That's what we're here to talk to you about. And I'm just wondering why my stream isn't showing up, but there it's showing up now. So I'm glad to have you here with us talking about Saul of Tarsus. And we're in a world now where religious extremism is something that we've grown to live with and accept as normal on a daily basis. Currently, the presentation of religious extremism is coming almost exclusively from the Islamic sector of Abrahamic religion, or at least that's what the media is focusing on. It has not always been that way, and it will not always continue to be that way, because you will see a huge rise in Christian extremist terrorism, extremism in the very near future. I plan to do another video about that probably today as we look at the coming Christian extremism. And really, it's not a surprise because Judaism, Christianity, Islam, it's all the same thing with different names. It's the new God, same as the old God. It's all about control. It's all about power, and it's all about killing folks that won't line up. So let's talk about the original extremists. Let's talk about Saul of Tarsus, who would later call himself the Apostle Paul and be accepted, today by almost all of Roman Catholic and Roman Protestant Christianity. So Saul of Tarsus, we're not going to go all the way back. I did write, my first book was called Apostle Paul Antichrist. And it does talk about the rise of Paul, gets very deep into his history, his childhood. It's a very, very deep and colorful look, revealing look, historical novel based upon the life and times of Saul of Tarsus, who would become the Apostle Paul. Paul is also prominently featured in the book, Final Message of the Last Apostle. So you can find detailed information in those two places at $1.99. for the ebooks. Probably not enough money, but there you go. So you have to understand what was going on in first century Judea that prompted the arrival of Saul of Tarsus. Well, you had a religious power structure and really an economic structure that had been intact for thousands of years. Within the Jewish culture, people had to bring their sacrificial animals to the temple in order to get their sins forgiven and to remain in good stead with the religion and, of course, with their God. So that temple was the very central focal point of all Jewish life, religious life, social life, and even economic life, because you not only had to bring an animal, you had to bring your best animal. You bring it to the priest kill it, they offer the blood for your sins, they have a barbecue, you go home and eat leeks and lentils because you had to give away your best animal. So that is what was going on. And of course, the priest that is capable of making the sacrifice that is necessary to free you from your sin, of course, has a very, very powerful place within society. And if they want you to give more money, you give more money. If they want you to give your children to them, you give your children to them. If they want you to come to the temple more often, you go to the temple more often because you have sin, and they are the only people that are available and the only people that have the ability to get your sins remitted from a angry, capricious God that's just waiting for a reason and an excuse to kill you. So that had been in place for thousands and thousands of years. Along comes some guy that says, wait a minute, they're lying to you. Along comes some guy that says, look, you don't have original sin. You've got the spark of divinity within you. Along comes some guy that says, look, you're not really born a sinner. You're born basically good and you've just gotten off track. Along comes a guy that says, look, giving your best animal, cutting animals' throats, human sacrifice, bleeding your own blood or bleeding the blood of an animal is not necessary. It's stupid, it's arbitrary, it's capricious, it's barbaric. And he says to them, look, don't do this sacrifice anymore. If you want a ritual to commemorate you're getting back on track, I offer you water baptism. So here's the guy that comes in and says, listen, don't do blood sacrifice anymore. Don't offer at the temple anymore. And he does this for a couple of years, and it's starting to take its toll. Tens of thousands of people have rallied to his message, and that's tens of thousands of people that aren't going to the temple anymore. Tens of thousands of people that aren't paying their sacrificial dues anymore, so to speak. Tens of thousands of people that are no longer under the direction and control of the temple. It's starting to affect the religious power structure. It's starting to affect the economic stability and situation within the city of Jerusalem. And it's starting to get the priests worried. It's starting to get the king worried. And when the priests and kings are worried, that's when the Roman overlords start to get worried, because they don't really care about how the Jewish people feel, but they do care about a revolt that they might have to march in and quash. So in the middle of all this upheaval, the need was for a guy who knew what was going on religiously, a guy who knew what was going on politically, to come in and clean house. So Roman citizen Paul, whose family was deep into the Roman Empire and was part of the original Halliburton, they were tent makers for the Roman legions, he decides, hey, listen, I can do this. He's a cousin to King Herod, who wasn't really a king, he was just a tetrarch. And he leverages his ties with this cousin. He leverages his ties with Nero. This is all in the books. And he says he gets police powers up into killing people. And he rides into Jerusalem and he immediately begins to persecute, kill, arrest, burn, maim, destroy people that are followers of the Christ and their property. And this isn't a secret. This is explicitly spelled out in the book of Acts. And all we have to do is read it. And the book of Acts was written by Paul ostensibly, but it was actually penned by Luke. Luke was his scribe. And I think Luke employed several instances of linguistic legerdemain and put things in there that Saul would not have appreciated. And remember, Saul could not read. His sight was so poor. So what we have here as we open up in Acts chapter 8 is that we've just had the killing of Stephen, which is a highly coded message that really depicts something very much differently. But we'll look at that at the end as the center. I don't want to bury the lead. So Saul was consenting to the death of supposedly Stephen, the deacon, killed at the temple. So Saul, who would later become Paul, was consenting to his death. Let's get into the original Greek, shall we, and consider and look exactly what that means. Saul, moreover, and look at the name Saul. I want to just show you the name Saul. The name Saulos, Saul, the apostle, a modified form of Saul. And if we look at Saul, Saul is very much like Sheol, the place of the dead. And Tarsus was reputed to be the entrance to the underworld. So Saul of Tarsus was very much like Sheol, Tarsus, the entrance to the underworld. But, be that as it may. So Saul was there. Saul was there. He was at this situation, and he was consenting. He had given consent agreement. He was of one mind. He had identified with. He was approving. He was giving hearty approval. He was giving hearty agreement. It's my contention that Saul had actually originated and perpetrated the death of this person. Interesting. Look at this. I just noticed this after all the times I've read the Bible. It's so amazing. Oh, it just says his death. Okay. I thought maybe Stephen was mentioned in the text and not mentioned in the Greek. Not true. So, strike that. And at that time, when Saul was consenting to the death of supposedly Stephen, but it wasn't Stephen. We'll get to that in a moment. From that came great persecution. What is persecution? Chase, pursuit, persecution. Follow, pursue, hunt, suppress, punish. Religious persecution. The original religious persecutor in modern times was Saul of Tarsus. It literally refers to those seeking to punish God's messengers with a vengeance. Like a hunter trying to conquer and obliterate someone as their catch. Read that, folks. Well, let's look at the original word first. What does it mean? It means persecution. Hunt, chase, pursue. Hunt down like an animal, suppress, punish convictions, punish God's messengers. Can you believe this? It applies to the Roman Emperor Decius, who killed thousands of Christians who refused to offer sacrifices in his name. It refers to the Roman Emperor Decius, who killed thousands of Christians who refused to offer sacrifices in his name. Guess what? This is why the Protestant reformers in 1600 years of church history called the Roman system and the Roman religious system that supported it the Antichrist. Killing thousands of Christians, hunting people down like animals, punishing them for their convictions. This is what Saul of Tarsus was in charge of doing. And not only was it just that, but it was great, large, great, massive in the widest sense. Folks, what you see ISIS doing now, they're taking their cues from Paul the Apostle. Paul the Apostle wrote the playbook that ISIS is now using. Paul the Apostle wrote the playbook of religious extremism. Paul the Apostle wrote the playbook that these ignorant, misguided idiots are using when they're pulling down statues, even in our country. That's step one. And if we don't resist it, they'll go to step two. They'll push it as far as we let them, but we're not here to talk about that today. So Saul of Tarsus wrote the playbook on how to wage jihad. Saul of Tarsus wrote the playbook on how to wage jihad. And hear this, my friends. Muhammad copied Paul. Muhammad learned to do what he did by watching Paul do what he did. Muhammad learned every trick in his book of treachery, death, destruction, and persecution from your friendly Apostle Paul, the original religious extremist. That's who Paul is, and he sparked the whole thing that we're living with now under Islamic extremism. And it was persecution against who? It was persecution against the assembly, the ones called out. He was going against the disciples of the true Christ. Where? In Jerusalem. Well, how can there be a Jerusalem if there was no J? You're a liar. Well, if you don't mind looking at the original Greek, you idiot. Hierosoluma. That's how you said the name in the damn Greek language, you idiots. There was no J. Yes. Thank you. And he was scattering people throughout the regions of Judea. But for some reason, he hadn't worked his way to the apostles yet. I wonder why. I think it was because he was trying to create a war, to wage a war of terror so they would accept him and they would surrender to him. But it didn't happen. And that's where we get the rest of the story that we're going to look at at the very end of this broadcast. So you have Saul killing folks. You have Saul burning, looting, stealing, no doubt raping, pillaging, and plundering. And then you read in Acts chapter 9 that Saul was continuing to breathe out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Christ. Let's look at this in the interlinear again. He's breathing out, breathing, inhaling, blowing fire through his nose, just like a dragon, because he was a little rat bastardette. So he's breathing out, he's seething with anger, threats, threatening threats. Jeff, it never says that Paul killed anyone. You're a liar. Oh, really? What is that word right there? Oh, that word's murder. So Paul was threatening people, and what else was he doing? He was murdering, slaughtering, and killing. Where are you now? You people that say, oh, Paul never killed anyone, you're a liar. Oh, well, then it must be that the Greek New Testament is a lie. Well, a lot of it is, but here they're actually telling the truth. He was committing murder. He killed lots and lots of people. Who were they? They were the disciples. They were the learners, the pupils of who? Of the Christ. And Paul had gone to who? Paul had gone to the high priest to get letters so he could go get other people and bring them back and destroy them and kill them. So Saul was without a doubt a murderer. Saul was without a doubt a persecutor. Saul was the original modern religious extremist. Saul was the original chapter of ISIS. Saul was the original religious extremist, killing, looting, raping, pillaging, plundering, destroying. Saul of Tarsus, the Apostle Paul, the guy that you base your religion on. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside? You follow a murderer. You follow the original extremist, Saul of Tarsus, aka the Apostle Paul. But he never killed anyone after he was converted. Oh, really? Well, let's take a look here. Back in Acts chapter 6. In those days, the disciples were multiplying, and they had some, let me give you the share on this. They had some administrative issues because, a lot of people were getting help and it wasn't being distributed in a even way because the disciples were just too busy doing stuff. So what happened was the disciples decided that let's create a new position where 7 men of good report can take care of the business of the church, and we'll continue to take care of the preaching business of the church. This is the original Christ movement growing, and they needed people to take care of the business end so they could continue to do the preaching end. So if you look at this, it very clearly says, what is a deacon to do? A deacon, the apostles should not leave the word of God and serve tables. So let's find some men that we can appoint over this business. The business of what? The business of serving tables. The business of doing the business of the church. But we, the apostles, will give ourselves continually to prayer and ministry of the word. So if you notice here, Luke is being very emphatic to show you that deacons serve tables. Deacons take care of the business. The apostles give themselves to the ministry of the word. And one of these people was a guy called Stephen, quote unquote. So Stephen was doing great faith and power and miracles among the people. Wait a second. Stephen's a deacon. We were just told that deacons are supposed to be serving tables and doing business. So why would he be doing great wonders and miracles? It's a non sequitur. It makes you blink, say, wait a second. Something doesn't make sense. Something doesn't make sense. He's supposed to be serving tables. He's supposed to be doing the business. The apostles were reserved and were exclusively for the preaching and ministry of the word. But why is this guy who's supposed to be a deacon doing great wonders and miracles? It's a non sequitur. It's supposed to make you go, what? It's supposed to make this come in your mind.
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horseshit.
It's supposed to make you think.
Warning, bullshit alert.
And it's supposed to make you look into it a little bit deeper. So now, not only is he doing wonders, but he's speaking to the council. He's preaching to the elders, the scribes. He's preaching to the council, the Sanhedrin. He's supposed to be waiting tables. He's supposed to be over business, but all of a sudden he is preaching to the Sanhedrin. And here he goes and does this big sermon. Luke just told us deacons don't preach. Luke just told us deacons wait tables. Only the apostles preach. And then all of a sudden, in the very next breath, he's showing a deacon preaching. Folks, he's showing you that something's awry in the state of Denmark. This is not Stephen. This is James the Just. Read Josephus. Read the Vedas. Read history. In order to avoid the Roman censors, Luke has called James Stephen and pictures a blow-by-blow description of the historical death of James, couching it in this person called Stephen. And guess who's the one that killed James, a.k.a. Stephen? It was Saul of Tarsus, well after he was back from the road, the Damascus road, well after he was the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. Paul started killing fools, and he kept killing fools, and his followers are still killing fools. And if you watched our tarot show last night with Tamu and Wayne, then you know what killing fools really means. And guess what? At 8 o'clock tonight, Tamu and I think hopefully Wayne will be back again as we look at the tarot of the August 21st full solar eclipse. So as you get mad at and spit venom, and rightly so, at the Islamic extremists and the horrific events they are perpetrating, don't forget the poor misguided idiots right here in our country pulling down statues in the spirit of ISIS. And certainly don't forget where ISIS learned their tricks. Oh, they learned them from Muhammad. Yeah, they did learn them from Muhammad. And guess who Muhammad learned his tricks from? He learned his tricks from the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul, the original religious extremist, murderer of believers, persecutor of people for their faith, and the murderer of James the Just, the person appointed to be over the Christ movement after the Christ himself left for other parts. That's the original extremist. I'm Jeffrey Doherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and that is the gospel truth about the original extremist, Saul of Tarsus. Now you know. And the question is, what are you going to do now that this gospel truth has broken out all over you? It's up to you. Only you can say what you want to do. A quick glance into the chat room. Hello, everybody. Was he an abused child? Trauma? I think he was more of a spoiled child. Could the second coming be the return of the Lord rat bastard? Absolutely. 100% yes. Wow. Right. There won't really be a second coming. It'll be a fake one, Renaissance woman. You're absolutely right. The second coming is all BS. Yes, it is. Mother Goose Keeper, thank you. If you have a question for the rods, I'll be glad to answer it for you. There is no physical return. The Christ said that. I'm a sovereign shirt. Yes, I got two. I like those. Boom, I'm divine, I'm sovereign, I'm free. Boop. Chris Monet hit the nail on the head. She does that often. Paul was such a powerful apostle. He loved the Christ. Doc, I hope you're being facetious. He hated the Christ. He loved Soylent Jesus. Yeah, like Renaissance Woman says, are you kidding, Doc? I sure hope so. I spilled coffee. Oh, don't spill coffee on your phone. Oh, okay. Obviously, he was the greatest apostle ever. He had a vision of the Christ, just like our papal bloodline friend Constantine. Oh, thank you, Doc Illusion. You had me worried there for a second. Jeff, I'm sorry, but I don't think the name calling anyone an idiot is an example of being positive message or energy coming out for the world. Don't be an idiot. Sunshine on. The people that I call idiots are idiots because they have acknowledged they've had access to truth and continue to deny it. So that makes you an idiot. I'm sorry. I thought righteous anger was okay. My Chinese fortune cookie. It is proper to speak the truth. See? There you go. Black Star ISIS. Interesting. Interesting. Jeff, have you ever read anything by Chiron Last? No. Thank you, Denise. Compassion and empathy. Whoops. Well, you know what, Sunshine On? You can run the Sunshine On channel any way you want. You can run the Sunshine On channel any way you want, and I'll run this channel any way I want. So there you go. Paul really was the first Jesuit. He was the first militarized arm of Christianity. That's very good, Doc Illusion. He was the first Jesuit. Jihadi Paul. Oh, that's a good one, Gary Baxter. Jihadi Paul. Whoa, this is intense. Yes, it is. You cannot divide God without destroying God. Absolutely. Hi, Divine Harmony. Good to see you. Give it a rest, Sunshine On. Give it a rest. Take a few deep breaths. The Christ always said that he was within us, so no rapture. Good one, Divine Harmony. You're absolutely right. Sometimes you just have to call a spade a spade. Do have so much access to info. There is no excuse. I agree. I totally agree. Who was it that gave the $2 shout out? That was Mother Goose Keeper. Mother Goose Keeper, if you have any questions for the rods, let me know. I'll be glad to entertain that for you. Thank you very much for your shout out. I really appreciate it very much. Once you've been made a deputy with a wrench, is it always there? I think so. I think so. Because it does, I think it's there until I unmake it there. Sometimes they get hammers, not wrenches. That's interesting. So there you go, folks. It is beyond. Yeah, if anyone wants to remain ignorant, they're doing so by their own hand. and by their own decision. 8 o'clock, Tamu and Gina and Wayne Steiger. And we are going to be talking about the astrology, not the astrology, but I'm getting real interested in astrology. We're going to be talking about the tarot of the August 21st total solar eclipse. So about finding work. Well, let's just start with the basics. Is Mother Goosekeeper going to find work soon? Yes, she is. Mother Goosekeeper, do you have any more specific questions that you'd like to ask about it? I'm learning so much. Good. Yeah, be your own hero. That is awesome. Is Mother Goosekeeper going to find work soon? Yes. So, do you have any other more specific questions? It'd be hard to start a YouTube channel with a cell phone, Doc. It really would. I mean, it can be done, but it's tough. It's tough. It's much better if you have a computer, even a Chromebook. I've seen it done on a Chromebook. But you know what? Should Doc Illusion start a YouTube channel with a cell phone? Yeah, if you have to. Mother Goosekeeper, any other specific questions? Oh, he's joking. Oh my God, my typing is Harini. I'm thinking that probably means horrendous. Okay, a couple other quick questions for the rods and we're out of here. Is the hurricane going to slam Florida? Is the hurricane going to slam Florida? No. I'm still in panic mode. I don't want to know what to ask. Should Mother Goosekeeper leave this relationship? Yes. Should Mother Goosekeeper leave this relationship? The rods say yes. Use it to confirm what you already feel in your blank. Hey, Jeff, be careful down there. Oh, in Florida. Okay. I will. If anything bad starts to happen, I can head for the hills. There aren't any hills in Florida, obviously. Divine Harmony asks, am I on the right path? Oh, that was weird. Divine Harmony, am I on the right path? Yes, you are, sweetheart. Am I on the right path? Should I go back to reading the cards? Renaissance Woman. Yes. Will the fires continue in Canada? No. Will the fires continue in California? No, they're coming to an end. Well, there you go. There is a hill in Dade City, sort of. Sort of. All right. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. That's the gospel truth about the original extremist, Saul of Tarsus. I think I'm going to load one up on the coming Christian extremism and what it's going to be all about, what it's going to be all centered about. You're welcome, Renaissance Woman. And why people like L.A. Cucaracha, people like L.A.Z.Y. Marzulli are fueling it, and maybe knowingly so. Yes, I do, Toots Greer. So look forward to that. Look forward to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, Divine Harmony. Look forward to 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Tamu and Gina, Wayne Steiger, probably, and yours truly, your friendly neighborhood Christian Whistleblower. All of you that are here, I do salute you as seekers of truth. You could be a guest on the Jeff Daugherty NCK Gospel Truth YouTube channel on a cell phone. I'm not going to debate you, Sunshine, on about whether I can say idiot or not on my own channel, because there's no debate. There's no debate. Run the Sunshine On channel any way you want. I'll run my channel any way I want. And each of us can do what we do. And You give me the right to be wrong as I give you the right to be wrong. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Thanks for joining me here. Join me again, probably between now and 8 with another video. And be here at 8 o'clock. Christine Lester in the house. Yeah, and Mystery, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was sitting here going through the channel and I was at like 6,000. Anyway, I watched it before my eyes drop 8 subscribers. Boom, just like that. Now, either 8 people unsubscribed at the same exact time, or there's some malfeasance going on. But anyway, there is malfeasance, but we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're not going to let it affect us. So just make sure every time you come on that you are still subscribed. Subscribe again if you're unsubscribed. Hit the bell, and please tell other people about it, because we do want to bust this thing out and grow this channel. And we're here to help you get all the information you need, and that you can help other people get all the information they need to make a full and proper decision. We'll see you again real soon. And until next time, I want you to know I do respect you. I do appreciate you. And like David Bowie said, I am the great I am. I'm divine. I am sovereign. I am free. I got no sin within me. I got the spark of divinity. So I love me. I love thee. And that allows us to be excellent to each other. And it was the Christ himself that said, they will know that you are my followers because you are excellent to each other. We'll see you again real soon.